How's it going, guys? Cracked Rag here, and today we're going to be talking about one of my favorite subjects of all time, Chris Chan. Now, 99% of you watching this absolutely know who Chris Chan is and are likely fans, so I'm not going to explain all of his basic lore. Rather, I'm just going to give my thoughts on this individual over the years because I've been following this guy since maybe 2009 or 2010. It's been a long decade of following this very special man, and I feel like the only way I can pay back my dues for all the entertainment he's given me is to make a video on him. To sum him up, he's a lolcow who for the last 40 years of his life has been living with his mother and hoarding in his disgusting house while playing with children's toys at an age where it's really scary to do so. He's a man with severe autism who's been getting cyberbullied online for literally like 20 years now and has become one of the biggest memes on the entire internet. The reason I'm making this video is I just want to express my disbelief at how popular and immensely huge the subject of Chris Chan has gotten, considering I've been following him since before more than a few thousand people even knew he existed. And now he's so incredibly popular that if you asked 10 people on the street who he was, probably at least 5 would know, at least in America. So yeah, I just wanted to give my thoughts on Chris as someone who's been studying him extremely closely for over a decade now. And I do mean extremely closely. I have checked up on the antics of Chris Chan now at least once a day since 2010. It has been a daily ritual for a very long time, so I have a lot of experience in this fat, fucking insane man's world. Now, back when I first discovered Chris, he was actually a really obscure figure who wasn't really even that bad yet. Like, yes, he was disgusting, yes, he shit his pants frequently, yes, he'd do fucking nasty things like drink his own semen on camera, and yes, he was getting trolled into doing heinous things like shoving a medallion up his ass on a daily basis. But it was all, at the end of the day, pretty innocent shit. Stuff that's very degenerate, but it didn't really hurt anybody except for Chris, so it was kind of okay to laugh at it. However, as the late 2010s started to come around, Chris went from being a super spastic, silly basement-dwelling dude to a super duper creepy, violent, and criminally negligent trans woman. His irresponsibility at one point was ironically cute, but it got so bad in the early to mid 2010s that his irresponsibility was causing things like house fires and assaults and general trauma to other people. And now that he's in jail for sexually assaulting his own mother, let's just say things have gotten very, very dark in the Chris Chan world. Never in a million years did I think Chris would stoop this low, and I was busy laughing at him back in 2010. To me, and to everyone else, he was just a charming, stupid idiot who entertained us through his tantrums and horrible living situation. In fact, for a long time during my Christorian career, I actually felt pretty bad for Chris. He's someone who just seemed like an abused, sad little puppy dog who needed warmth and affection. But like I said, as we got into the mid to late 2010s, it became very clear that Chris was not the adorable punching bag he used to be. During the 2010s, he both assaulted the owner of a game store with his vehicle for not letting him in the store, and he also, in a separate incident, pepper sprayed a GameStop employee because of an argument that had to do with Sonic Boom on the Wii U. This is a nearly 40-year-old man. At this point in time, I was really just done with Chris and reading up on him, and I took a break for about a year. I just felt like this Chris Chan thing was going from really funny to really unfunny, scary, and sad as the years went on. And I knew at that point he was likely going to do something that broke the straw on the camel's back at some point. Perhaps accidentally killing someone with his car, or purposefully raping someone, hint hint. So I picked up reading about him again in 2015, and it actually did seem like for a time that Chris was learning from his mistakes and keeping to himself and just learning to stop all the drama and conflict. After the house fire that almost took his entire house, and after he had all these legal battles, it genuinely seemed for a time that Chris was starting to humble up and be a little more self-aware to his disgustingness. In fact, he actually kept up this good behavior for the next 6 years. He was almost a completely different person than who he used to be. I really had hope for him. But then 2021 came, and well, you know the rest of that story. Now overall, I think people are being way too harsh on Chris. Yes, he is definitely a sexual assaulter of his own mother and should be punished for it, but to call Chris a monster who deserves to die is just really ridiculous, because this is a man who has felt it's acceptable to smell the way he does, look the way he does, and act the way he does for decades. He clearly is not mentally fit, and sending him to a hardcore prison will not do anything for him. He will just become a far worse person by the time he gets out. It helps absolutely no one to put him in jail. He needs to be in a group home with other people just like him that he can interact with all day. and he needs to be completely shut off of the internet forever. Only then can he actually be rehabilitated. Now, after listening to the confession call on YouTube where Chris admits in a 20-minute recording that he regularly has sex with his own mother, among other nasty shit he regularly does, I can say that he is 100% oblivious to how severe the nature of his crimes are, hence why he doesn't really need to be thrown in prison. It just won't help anyone. Also, some other funny shit about that call. At one point, when Chris is asked if he and Barb go out on dates, he said that they have dinner dates at his house, but made note of the fact that it's not extravagant or anything. Not extravagant, Chris? Yeah, you really needed to tell us that when you're living in a fucking burnt down pile of ash mixed with piles and piles of garbage and My Little Pony toys covered in poop and cum. Anyway, the story of Chris Chan is just one that's really tragic, mainly because it could have been prevented years ago when Chris started showing serious signs of mental illness beyond just being a bizarre societal outcast. This guy should have been institutionalized back in 2012, quite frankly, and that's all there is to it.